Everybody. All right, so yesterday you were supposed to read and annotate the text I Am Always a Fiction, a Mosaic, a Memory, We All Are by Christina Rosalie, sorry. And so today I'm going to go over and I am going to do a little think aloud with this essay, a very short essay. However, I bet that you were having a little bit of trouble with it. It's a difficult essay. I bet some of you were at the aware stage in the metacognitive readers continuum. Some might be strategic. Hopefully you got to be that strategic part by using annotation as a really good strategy. So I have your annotations that have been already turned into me, but you will want to pull up that file or pull out that worksheet and follow along and use a different color pen or a different color font if you are not printing. Make sure that you have a different color font than your original annotations, because I want to see your original work and your revisions that you do right now with me when you hand. I'm not even sure if you're going to hand this in, actually. I don't think so. Okay, but so just make sure that you're following along and doing your own your own revisions. I don't think you're going to hand this in again. That's okay, but this will help you think through, so when you have to do some annotating on your test, you'll be better at it. Okay? All right, so here we go. I Am Always a Fiction. I'm going to switch my camera here. Here we go. There we are. So here we go. I Am Always a Fiction, a Mosaic, a Memory, We All Are by Christina Rosalie. And really, I'm just going to be looking at that title for a minute. So I'm always a fiction, and I know what fiction means. Fiction means that it's made up, right? So I don't know. I always think that this means it's not true, too. So when I read a fiction book, I always think, oh, this is a made up story. It's not true. But I suppose when I read some like historical fiction, it's based on real events. So part of it might be true, but the story or the characters aren't true. So that's sort of tripping me up, because I am always a fiction. So I'm wondering if she's saying I'm always made up or I'm always not true. That's an interesting way of thinking about it. A mosaic. Okay, so a mosaic, how many of you really knew what a mosaic is? I think that we need to talk about what is that? What is it? And then a memory. I'm always a memory. So I remember who I am. Is that what she means by that? And then we all are. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the mosaic thing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find an example of a mosaic for you here. So you're going to have to bear with me a second. It might be a minute. Oh, sorry, I should have had this brought up before and I didn't. And so now I'm searching. Maybe it would be easier to search here. Okay, I'm doing a Google search right now. Mosaic. And I'll do images. There we go. All right, so here we go. I'm going to come back to you, and I'm going to come back to my FaceTime camera. Hello. All right, so I'm going to show you some mosaics so you can understand what she means by mosaics. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, so these are mosaics. You can see that they're using pieces. A lot of times people will break pottery and then you like break pottery and then make those pieces into different pictures. So you can, and sometimes they use tiles like this one up here, using the tiles. I'm going to try and find a pointer here so maybe it's easier to see. There we go. So here, these are the tiles, and you can see that they're just in a design. They're not really making a picture, but next door here, you can see that there's a dolphin that they made with the different tiles. So a lot of times, like I said, people will break pottery and then put them together to make a new picture, kind of like this fish or whatever. And so it's like taking parts of different things and making a new whole. That's what a mosaic is. So I just wanted you to have a really good picture in your head about what mosaics look like and how you use different parts of something else in order to make a new whole. Okay, so stop sharing. There we go. And we'll go back to our document. There we go. All right, so that's what a mosaic is. All right, so I have to write a prediction, and remember we can do this informally up here. And I think this might be about how maybe we create ourselves. And I'm saying that because if we get to make ourselves up, and we're using it like a mosaic, we're taking different pieces from different places to make a new whole. I'm still not sure how memory fits into that, but it might. It might. I think that it might be. I think this is about how we create ourselves. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to start reading with the first paragraph. I'm going to number my paragraphs here quick because this is a really good idea whenever you do any reading assignments, is to number your paragraphs. So then when you want to talk about it, you can say in paragraph 5, she said, right? It just is good practice. So, all right. I've been thinking about the ways that we see ourselves and the ways that we do not. Interesting. The ways that we do not see ourselves. I've never thought of that before. So like, how do you not see yourself? I don't see myself as, I don't know, unkind. But I bet I've been unkind to people, not probably on purpose, or maybe I've been unkind to people who are close to me because I'm frustrated or having a bad day or something. But I certainly don't see myself as unkind. So that's interesting to think about how you don't see yourself and how that might be different than how the next line here, and also about the ways other people see us. So hopefully people don't think I'm unkind. Like, I hope not. But there might be somebody that I was having a bad day, or maybe they misinterpreted what I said or something, and they think that I am unkind. So that is how they see me, but I don't see myself that way. And you can see how that might be a little bit of a disconnect, right? So I'm going to reread because that's what I have to do. I've been thinking about the ways we see ourselves. How do we see ourselves? So this would mean that I'm kind, right? And the ways that we do not. And also about the way other people see us, only in fragments. Interesting. So this goes back to like a mosaic, right? So if we are only thinking about the fragments that we are made up of, then some people see certain fragments and we see certain fragments, but we never really see the whole. Right? The whole self. So we are continually like Marcel's nude. Now, that's something that I didn't know what that was when I read this the first time, and I had to look it up. So I will show you that in a few minutes, but I had to look up here, okay? So we're continually like Marcel's nude, a version of ourselves, always in construction in whatever instant we're in. So this goes back to we're making ourselves up, right? Or maybe our experiences are making us, right? So if you go into a situation, I'm trying to think of a good situation. Like, okay, how about this? You go into a restaurant, right? You and your friend go into a restaurant and they treat you poorly. And the people in the restaurant also treat you poorly. You might think, oh, we don't belong at this restaurant. I'm not going to go back there. That's not who I want to be, right? And so the experience of being treated poorly make you feel like you don't fit somewhere, maybe, right? I don't know. It's just my thinking. Okay, so we never arrive in each new moment. That is sort of confusing. We never arrive in each new moment. I'm not sure what that means. I'm going to put a question mark there because that doesn't make sense. And I might even put, because it doesn't make sense to me. How do we not arrive? We're there, so I don't know what she means. We never arrive in each new moment. We are never the same. Oh, okay. There is no end point, no certainty. We are all simply always becoming. So we are never the same. So this means that we're always changing, right? We're always changing and growing. So is that why we don't arrive in each new moment? Because we're always different? Maybe. We're always different in each new moment. Maybe, maybe. Okay, so let's move on to paragraph 4 here. Today, I'm a bitten lip, a ruckus laugh, a tilt of shoulder. I am the clutch of fingers, the clench of jaw. I am whatever geometry of flesh and wonder, breath and instinct, fever and blood you see me as. So this is a description. And I think it's really cool how she wrote this. How she talks about today, this is what I am, right? And then she gives us some really cool details. A bitten lip, that's awesome. A ruckus laugh, tilt of shoulder, right? I love the clench of jaw. Just you can visualize that really well, right? And then it says, you see me as, whatever you see me as, right? This is all the things that she might be, and then whatever else you see her as. So this is a description, and I want to challenge you to try and write that. like just on the back of this paper even, to try and write, today I am right? I might say, today I am a sprained ankle, guacamole craving, I don't know, a confused reader. I have no idea, but I'm just doing that off the cuff, but I would challenge you to try and figure out how you could describe yourself today. What happened with you today that you could put into some words like that? That might be really kind of fun. And that would be interesting. Okay. So I am that instant, oh, and there, she's going to keep on going with this description. So I am that instant standing in the street, stirring a smile in reaction, skirt twirling in the wind, and also collected seconds crossing the street at a run. Just as I am the one they rush to at the door, small arms circling my neck, and the one that fits against his heart, our breath finding its own syncopation. I love this paragraph. So we have to do a little bit of inference here. So I am the one they is a reference to somebody. And there's nobody listed here. So we need to figure out who they are. I am the one they rush to at the door. And then, okay, whoever they are, they have small arms that circle her neck. So who might they be? I think they're her kids. And so this means she's a mother. Right? Oh, I'm off the page. Sorry about that. And then it gives you, and there's a connecting word, and the one that fits against his heart. Whose heart? That's another reference, his heart. Our breath finding its own syncopation. So it's not they anymore. It's not her kids. So who would she fit against? And syncopation, this is a hard word. This is something that I would have to look up probably. But this just means it's in rhythm. So whose heart would she be in rhythm with and that she fits against? I think it might be her husband. So she's a wife too. Right? So we now know a little bit about her here from these descriptions. There's a description here and there's a description there. And how that does really tell us something about her and how she's becoming, right? Because you're not born a mother. You become a mother. And you're not born married to anybody. So she became a wife when she got married. So this is a great way of becoming. And that's what she says up here in paragraph 3. We are simply always becoming. So here's some examples of how she's becoming, right? All right, let's move on to paragraph 6 here. Oh, this is the same as the title. I am always a fiction, a mosaic, a memory. We all are. So that is a repetition. And you're going to be reading something about that in your study read tonight about how important repetition is. So we're going to keep track of that repetition. Memory fades. And look at, I just want you to know that this is a quotation mark here and here. So she's quoting somebody here, right? Memory fades, memory adjusts, memory conforms to what we think we remember. Joan Didion said that in Blue Nights. And though it's true of long-term memories, it's also true of yesterday. So this is where the memory comes into play, right? Because memory fades and adjusts and conforms to what we think we remember, sometimes our view of ourselves color what we remember, right? I know that we can all sit around my kitchen table for dinner and we can be talking about a certain thing that happens, and I'll say something and they'll be like, that's not what happened. My family, they argue with me because they think that my memory is bad, but really it's their memory that's bad, I think. So, but sometimes once we all start talking, they'll say something that maybe I'll think, oh yeah, I forgot that part. So then the memory was incomplete, right? And so by the time we're all talking about this memory, whatever it is, we can come up with something that we all agree upon because we all remember different parts of that memory. So I think that that is really important because memory does adjust and conform to what we think we remember. And that goes back to how we see ourselves, right? In fragments. So those fragments can be right or wrong or incomplete. So that goes back to paragraph 1 a little bit. And she's saying it's true of yesterday, which, yep, especially the older I get, sometimes I even forget what happened yesterday. So that's really true. All right, here's the last paragraph. We invent ourselves. Oh, look at that, the word invent. That goes back to my prediction. I think this is about how we create ourselves. So she's saying invent, and I said create. So I was pretty right on with that. We invent ourselves based on what we know. Okay. What we know conforms to who we know and where we are. Interesting. We're shaped by both some bright, irrevocable spark of spirit and by the world as we inhabit it each day. We make ourselves, make our wonderment, make our delight, our grief, just as in turn the world makes us. So this is super interesting, I think, because it's saying that we're making ourselves, right? But then it says something about this bright, irrevocable spark of spirit. And I'm wondering what you think that is. What is a bright, irrevocable spark of spirit? And I think spirit is the key word here. What is she talking about there? What do you think? So spirit, if you're talking about spirit, I think maybe you're talking about some sort of religious experience, right? And so then if we can get it to there, then we're talking about probably God, right? The spark of spirit, something that you are born with, this spirit. But then it also talks about how the world is making us, where we are, what we're doing. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but there is something called, I'm sorry, my son is distracting my brain right now. Oh my gosh. It's birth. That's not it. I'll remember. See, this is where I'm forgetting. because I'm old. All right. So if our environment is making us, and we're born with something biological, so it's biological, and it's also environment. And those two together make us, right? So also, I think the world can make us by our situation. So I think that if we go through life kind of being pulled by whatever the world does, and we don't ever disrupt that, that we can be put in boxes and we can just not have any agency over our lives at all. So this makes me think that I want to make myself. I don't want the world to. Right? I want to prove who I am without people judging me and telling me who I am. And so I can talk to you about gender with that, right? I am a woman, and so some people have certain predisposed notions of how women are and what their place is in society, right? And I could go along with that. In fact, I have gone along with that for a lot of my life because that was what was expected. It was how I was raised. It was how the social situations that I was put in, and I was taught a certain way of being a woman, right? Look like you're weaker. Don't be too smart. You don't want to, make any men feel like you are superior to them because that makes them feel bad. And so when I go along with what the world wants for me, it limits my potential, right? And so I want to be the one. I want to be in charge. Right? I want to be as smart as I am. I want to be as my own person as I am. I don't want people to tell me to act a certain way because of my gender. So that's what I'm talking about there is I want agency here. I'm going to put that word down. I want agency in my own life. Okay, so I still haven't thought of that. This is a psychological thing, and I still haven't thought of what it is, and I will think of it, and it will bother me that I didn't put it in this. So maybe if you have it, you can write it in a paper or something for me, because I know that there's a psychological name for it, and it's oh, I cannot remember it. I'm going to Google it when I get off of this. So this is what I was thinking about when I was reading. And it really does connect. It connects to fear factor a lot, I think. So I hope that you were making some text-to-text connections as we went through this as well. I didn't model that, but I think that this really does have a lot to do with fear factor. Right? Because people don't feel like they're college material. I hate that. I hate that term. I hate that so much because everybody belongs in college. Everybody deserves an education. And so that whole I don't think I'm college material, or people say that about others, that's awful. But that also fits right into this and how we perceive ourselves and how we can remake ourselves. And so I'm hoping that we don't have this fear factor thing going on in art class. And hopefully Normandale has done some work to not have this be really a scary place for people, and that professors are approachable so people can get help and whatever. but you know what I'm saying? So I definitely think that there's something to be connected to here, that you need to be able to see yourself and have agency over yourself. Okay, so I better put my text thing there too. All right, so I hope this helped. I hope this gave you a little bit more understanding. This was a difficult text. So I hope that if you were at the aware stage, that now you're at least strategic, if not reflective. Okay? All right, if you have questions about this, go ahead and email me. But this is something that I would like you to keep in mind when we keep reading our responsive reading texts. I want you to keep this in mind to be connecting to. And how is it that we are in control of our own lives? And how is this giving us agency over our own futures? Okay? All right, I will see you in the next presentation.